Hey, what's up, people? This is Global Game. My name's Saucin. This is my buddy Kyle. And here on this show, what we do is chop it up about various topics and headlines that have been catching our attention. So, without any further ado, let's get into
Let's
it.
get to it. Starting off this week, we're heading to Houston. We're starting off with the Houston Rockets. They've had a rocky start to the season so far. They already fired their coach, Kevin McHale. Saucin, what's your opinion on what's going on in Houston right now?
First and foremost, I think getting rid of a guy like Kevin McHale is a big mistake. Kevin McHale, guy who has been there on the highest level of competition before, both as a player and a coach. Anytime you have some guy with that much experience and know-how, I think it's a mistake to get rid of him, especially when some of the things might not have been his fault. Some of the issues with the Rockets, something stemming from the offseason, I think the pickup of Ty Lawson. Ty Lawson was a great player, but for the Rockets, I don't see where they need him. With James Harden, somebody who is such a ball-dominant two-guard, a player like Patrick Beverley who can just lock up, hit a shot when you need him to, and play his role is a great piece to have. Similar to how Kobe had Derek Fisher.
Right.
Bringing in Ty Lawson is a waste of his talent for the Rockets and for Ty Lawson, so I wasn't a fan of that. And then another thing with the Rockets, the biggest thing to me is their superstar leadership. Recently, you've heard of players, unnamed players from the Rockets, not being amused with James Harden's aloofness as a leader. And James Harden is a great player and gets stuff done on the basketball court, but he's never really struck me as somebody who's really lose sleep over losing. Had a disappointing exit last year with 13 turnovers in the game they lost, and has come back this year and he's had a couple huge games, but has not been that great, shooting about 38% and 27% from the three-point line. So James Harden, for him, it's kind of time to show people what he's made of and get this back on the right track. And also, we all know about Dwight Howard and the media's issues with him as a leader, so that doesn't help either. Looking at rookies in the NBA currently, who are you looking at?
All the rookies are doing their thing early on in the season. It's still early, but
Yeah.
the three that I'm really keeping my eye on so far, Karl-Anthony Towns in Minnesota, Jahlil Okafor in Philadelphia, and Kristaps Porzingis in New York. They're all doing super things in their rookie season so far. But for me, Karl-Anthony Towns is the early winner of the Rookie of the Year award.
Okay.
He's averaging a double-double so far, 16 and 10. He's had 8 double-doubles so far this season already, so he's really showing up and doing this thing for Minnesota.
Okay. For me, I'm also looking at those same three rookies. Mentioned Karl-Anthony Towns, a great player, has been doing well so far this year, averaging a double-double, I believe, or pretty close to it anyways. My issues with him, it's nothing that's really his fault. He's very skilled. I just kind of feel like he isn't really too much of a traditional big man and isn't really selfish enough in terms of asking for the ball in the post. And also, I kind of feel like he kind of looks like the Nutty Professor and fat nerdy kid who just has some height and his dad made him play some basketball. So that's all things I can't be mad at him for, but that's just kind of factors into my thought process, whether it's right or wrong. But he's doing his thing, so I can't hate on him. But for me, my top candidate to win Rookie of the Year is Jahlil Okafor. All those things I was just wrongfully criticizing Towns for. Jahlil kind of has some of those things I look for. He's a traditional post player, to me, like a generational post talent in a game where big men, not big men nowadays, want to learn to dribble and shoot. This guy learned to park in the post, ask for the ball, grind you down, wear you out, and score. So I love to see that. Some issues with him people talk about is defense and rebounding. But over his past 5 games, he's over 10 boards a game, so that's a good trend. We'll see if he can continue that. But yeah, I really love Jahlil to win Rookie of the Year. Kristaps is also doing a hell of a job over there in New York, wowing people. But definitely at the forefront for me, it's Towns and Jahlil Okafor, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye on for sure.
All right, swinging into the LA Clippers. They started off the season hot, going 4-0. Now they've cooled off a bit at 6-7. There's been some rumors about potential issues in the locker room. How do you feel about them?
Well, first and foremost, as a Los Angeles Lakers fan, I'm pretty happy to see the Clippers crumbling.
That's true.
But setting aside all my ill will, it's troubling to see with the Clippers. after such a disappointing exit from the playoffs last year, after one of probably the greatest achievement in the organization's history of beating the Spurs in the way that they did in the 7-game series, their start was exactly what you look for, 4-0, out to prove something. But after that, all signs of that are kind of gone. A couple issues here. With me, number one, Chris Paul, to me, a player I really like, and to me, somebody who's been the best point guard in the league for the past couple years. He's starting to get to this point, almost like LeBron a couple years back before he won a ring, where he's had so many goes and so many empty trips that you kind of start hearing little murmurs of like, can he do this? Can he do that? Is he not good enough? And I would like to believe he is good enough. I think he's a great player, one of the greatest point guards of all time. But at a certain point, you need to produce some results. So I think there needs to be a chip on the shoulder for Chris Paul. Another thing that bothered me, not that significant in the grand scheme of the season, but Blake Griffin has had a great season. He's been a great player. But the Warriors game that they just dropped, they had a lead in the end, and the Warriors, with their small ball lineup, had Klay Thompson switching off onto Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin had a chance to ice this game with a 6'6" guy on his back and continually failed. Rather than salivating at this opportunity of having a 6'6" guy on your back and scoring on him every single time, Blake Griffin totally shut it. Grand picture of the season, that's not a big deal because Blake Griffin's putting in work, but that was troubling to me. I would like to see Chris Paul up his leadership. But besides that, like you said, I mean, it just seems like there's chemistry and locker room issues. And what do you think?
I mean, we know better than anybody else as Lakers fans that teammates don't necessarily have to like each other to win, but it's definitely an issue that they have to address. And if Doc Rivers has lost this locker room, I think it's a wrap for them as championship contenders in the league.
Moving on to this episode's edition of We See You, PJ Tucker. We see you. We see you,
bro. Rocking the Yeezy 2s in game, the Platinums. He's rocked them twice so far this season. Once against the LA Clippers, again against the Lakers. Yeah. He's doing his thing.
I guess he knew he was in LA. Really knew he had to bring out the sauce. But Yeezy 2, pretty bold move. They don't even look like they're not that nice to hoop in, but they worked for him. And
we see you, PJ Tucker.
Yeah. Staying on the kicks, heat of the week, something that I've been really looking at and is a crazy hot shoe to me is the Nike Air Cruise Trainer, the wheat color. Yeah. Man, those are a problem.
Looking like it's like a little mix like the Yeezys and some Timberlands as well. Nice colorway, I like it.
Yeah, man. Like you said, it's got a little bit of Yeezy elements. Kind of has some classic trainer elements. With the wheat finish, you can never go wrong with the wheat color. So. Good shoe, good shoe.
And jumping into the music side of things, last week Billboard put out their top 10 greatest rappers of all time to listen. I have my opinions about that list. I'll let you jump into that.
Yeah, man. Like you said, the list was named top 10 greatest rappers. So when you're talking about rappers, that to me the term rappers involves the whole totality, the impact, the bars, the popularity, but all of it. So it seems that they kind of just left that out with the omission of Tupac, probably the most impactful rap figure of all time. So that was disappointing to me. But you look at their synopsis for how they made the list, and they're talking about that they said that they're ranking these rappers off their skill as an MC. So you look at that from that definition. It kind of surprised me that Jay-Z is number 2 on this list because while I love Jay-Z and he's one of the greatest rappers of all time to me, based on their criteria, I don't think he belongs there. Jay-Z's kind of guy that we're listening to him for more of his stories and his knowledge, not his rapping skill. He's not rapping circles around anybody. So to me, it's just kind of an illegitimate, kind of sloppy list.
And for me, I mean, as simple as cut and dry. If you leave Tupac Amaru Shakur off of your list, you lose all credibility. So Billboard, garbage. Get out.
Garbage.
Get out. All right, into what we've been listening to. I've been listening to Ty Dolla $ign's new album, Free TC. It dropped November the 13th. For the R&B fans out there, it features legends like Babyface, R. Kelly, Jagged Edge. And for the people that are into the newer type of stuff, Ray Shremmer, Fetty Wap, and Future on there, Mustard on the beat as usual, Metro Boomin on there as well. So take a look at that. For sure. All right, going into Marshawn Lynch lists Seattle Seahawks this weekend. Rawls, the running back, the backup running back, did his thing, didn't
he? Yeah. Well, you know what? It was a opportunistic time for this to happen to the Hawks with them facing the Niners, who are pretty off the rails at this point. But where Thomas Rawls continued to impress. Thomas Rawls this past weekend with Marshawn Lynch sitting out because of abdomen issues exploded for 30 carries, 209 yards and a touchdown. Also chipped in 3 catches, 46 yards and a touchdown. So you look at the 3 times Marshawn has sat out this season: week 4, week 5, and week 11. Week 4, he had a forgettable performance with 17 carries and 48 yards. But the next week, 23 carries for 169 and a touchdown. Amazing game, amazing breakout game for the young fella. And last week, just went on a tear: 30 carries, 209 for a touchdown, 3 catches, 46 for a touchdown. Good to see an undrafted guy getting some looks, getting some shine, and he's proven it. Interesting mix of speed and strength, but he's starting to look really good, and Seahawks are pretty fortunate that they came across him with Marshawn now starting to run into health and longevity issues this season.
Right, it's looking like they're going to have a stable of running backs there in Seattle, and he was running over people, bro.
Yeah,
6.79 yards per carry. He was doing this thing.
Also, with these health issues that Marshawn is starting to have, it's very nice. The Seahawks puts the Seahawks' mind at ease a little bit, knowing that they have a guy who could step in and produce for them. Maybe not always these crazy numbers that he has produced in the past couple games, but it seems like he's very capable of getting the job done. Also, another thing to look at is kind of Marshawn's longevity kind of might be winding down. We know there's obviously a very short lifespan for a running back in the NFL with getting hit so much and the physical nature of the game, especially for a physical back like Marshawn, whose game is predicated off knocking people over and running through them. It's his 9th year in the league. Injuries starting to pile up. This sports hernia may sideline him for the season, so it's kind of rough to see, and hopefully he'll get back. But in the meantime, if he does have to be sidelined, it looks like the Hawks kind of struck a diamond in the rough with Thomas Rawls. Sticking with the NFL, Peyton Manning. Broncos this past weekend without Peyton. Brock Osweiler started through 2 touchdowns and no picks en route to a gritty victory against the Bears. How are you feeling about Peyton and this Osweiler debate?
With Peyton, it's interesting to see because 2 years ago he was a 55 touchdown throwing quarterback, and they led his team to the Super Bowl. They didn't win, and since then it's been this steady decline. With whether to start Osweiler or not over Peyton, I think it's a no-brainer that you have to start Osweiler at this point, because I've been hearing things that Peyton has a tear in his plantar fascia, and we know as basketball fans, as Laker fans, when Powell had a similar injury, it was almost impossible for him to get low in the post and do his thing. And as a quarterback, having to plant your feet and trying to throw a ball 50 yards down the field, it's got to be almost impossible. So I think Osweiler is the man at this point, but they might need to look to somebody in the future.
Definitely. I think we always have to respect our greats, but I can't really argue with anything you said. I mean, Father Time is still undefeated, and it kind of seems to be catching up to Peyton. This year, 9 touchdowns, 17 picks. Numbers that we're not accustomed to seeing from Peyton Manning. And it's sad to see, but at least until he's healthy, I would have to agree in giving Osweiler looks until he gives you reason to do otherwise. I think you'll probably give the team a better chance to win, being able to make certain throws that Payne might not be able to make, even though he doesn't have as much experience or knowledge of the game.
Right.
I think it's worth the test.
Going into firing off.
Yeah, firing off. In this episode, what I'm firing off about is the Golden State Warriors, their small ball, and its impact on basketball. Something that I personally despise. Yeah, man, they the Warriors have the luxury of having two of the greatest utility players of Draymond Green and Iguodala, and just generally shooters all over the bench that could just fill in and make this thing work. Harrison Barnes, a very underrated utility player also, who nobody looks at, but it makes this thing go. So you look at them, it works for them. I hate it. It goes against everything I think about basketball, all my traditional viewpoints, but it's working. But you look at the impact across the league and across the younger kids. First off, all these big younger kids want to learn to dribble like Steph and shoot threes. No, man. Park in the post to learn the post.
Yep.
But, yeah, forgetting about that. Looking at the NBA, Sunday I was watching the Lakers-Blazers game, and Byron Scott has a lineup of Jordan Clarkson, Lou Williams, Nick Young, Kobe Bryant, and Brandon Bass out on the floor. And at this point, it just seems like every coach is just trying to mimic the Warriors in a hopeless attempt at finding something that works. That's not basketball. That's not even a real basketball lineup. Brandon Bass at the 5, Kobe at the 4, Lou Williams, Nick Young. No, man. So that's really starting to bother me, how this small ball, everybody trying to replicate it. My buddy was talking about Cavs should play a lineup of Kyrie Irving, Mo Williams, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, and LeBron in the finals against the Warriors. 5 years ago, anybody would laugh at the thought of that lineup. I think it's a garbage lineup. Nobody's really found a way to make this thing work besides the Warriors, really, with a stupid lineup like that. I don't know, man. The small ball looks like it's here to stay with the Warriors with the success they're having, but I hate it. I'm bitter and I'm mad. All right, and things to look forward to. What are you looking forward to, Kyle?
Chris Brown's album Loyalty is dropping. Oh,
Royalty, man.
Royalty, not loyalty. Still.
The hosts still aren't loyal though.
Garbage. Yeah, but Royalty is dropping in December the 18th. So check that out. That should be pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. On to sneakers, things I'm looking out for. Fans of Jordan Brand, a shoe that's a timeless classic to me, is finally making its way back since the last release, the last retro in 2007, the Aqua 8, classic. Yeah, finally making its way back. So I'm excited about that. We'll probably have more on that soon. But,
for sure, on this show. So stay tuned
on this
for
show.
That. Yeah.
Wink, wink. But yeah, Aqua 8's coming out, so that's something to look for Jordan fans. Also, another shoe I was excited to see that's coming back out. The T-Mac 5. It's nice to see T-Mac getting some love. They're bringing this shoe back. The T-Mac 5 classic with the straps and the hardwood on the heel. They're bringing them back in the flame colorway. I'm not a huge fan of the flame colorway. It's a little too much going on for me. But needless to say, it is nice to see T-Mac getting some shoes retroed and Adidas showing some love to T-Mac. So
definitely good to see T-Mac getting some love for games to watch this coming week. Lakers are playing the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
So it's a chance for the Warriors to extend that streak and break their record, right?
It's always, I mean, under any general circumstances, this would be nothing to watch probably, but Warriors trying to make NBA history here with the most consecutive wins to start a season at 16, so anytime you have a chance to witness history, it's a fun thing to watch, so that's probably going to be a good one to tune into on Tuesday. And in the NFL on Thanksgiving Day, we got my Cowboys playing the Panthers. Cowboys, Romo finally came back and got them back in the win column after 7 straight losses, so we'll see if they could keep some good momentum going here and maybe get a W against one of the NFL's last 2 undefeated. Last 2 undefeated, so should be a good one to watch.
Cam Newton and the Panthers, we're going to see if they can dab on them boys.
Yeah, hopefully not. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Global Game. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and especially comment. Let us know who you think had the better ideas on this episode, and we'll make sure to give you a cool little punishment to the loser at the end of next show. So stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe, and I'm Saucin.
Kyle J. Flowers.
And thank you for watching Global Game.